we go, recording. Guys right away.
So it's not. Yeah, she's walking back and forth. How does she do this? Well, last time maybe she was already gone. Last time I talked to her, she passed out at me. And helped her out on some drugs. And then she accused me of telling me what I did. She accused me of telling someone to go cut chicken. I said, I didn't do that. And I said, furthermore, why are you yelling at me? Like, you don't know the word. Well, you know, I know him, but I got him to change these for her. I think it helped her too. Yeah, I told him, and I said to him, I said, look, because I've helped him on some issues. And he respects my opinion. Yeah. So I said, okay, what's the big thing? He's behind your house. Why aren't you going to pay for it? And he actually, I think he ended up taking care of himself.
One day, like New Year's, and I called my husband and said, well, did you with his son home? And I apologized for over the years already going to where he was
I told him, you know, I kind of stuck a knife in him. I said, you remember you complained to me about the lawyer and I told him how to do it. I said, do this.
This guy right here. This guy right here is also one of the because you know,
yes, he's already on the team.
okay, right, he is. Okay, great.
Yeah, and you learn a lot. I enjoy it actually. It's a learning process. So yeah. So if I try walking uphill from the other side, I can walk up that
I know.
going to really enhance the value. Trees should be a slam dunk because it's basically, hey, how would you like if somebody did it to you? That's number one. And secondly, what's the big deal? And what they, I think part of the reason I was successful was, the most important thing was I was a third party. I had no idea. That's very important. And also, I think they respected my opinion. And, I didn't play favorites. And I wasn't too strict. In other words, some people say, well, if he's an inch above the rooftop, yeah, you can't do that.
So what, is there
neighbor's house. So I let it sit 2 weeks.
It rained too, so how'd that go?
I said, this is crazy. And the dog, I went for the dog, put up a fence. First day I come down, the dog greets me in front of the house. And the neighbor, at the same time, is really good. She says, I thought I saw your dog upside down eating every day. So I go to the side of the house, it's a wooden gate, and it's got a horseshoe about that high to get out. So here's the funny story. I started taking him to work, and the company I sold it to, this is before I sold the company, just before I sold it, they really enjoy it. In fact, they're from the East Coast, and having a dog in my office helped sell the house. I was in negotiations with them. It was early in '72, and then on the second visit, I had a dog, and I didn't know where I should have him. And he told the top executive, everybody that came out wanted to have the dog. I see you told them about it. And to this day, I think that so the company, because he said, I'm back in this guy, he's got a dog in his office. the insurance carrier reimbursed all of it. $300,000 went to, and most of it went to the war, about 60 grand. That's why the association is 60 grand. They actually made money on it. Now, they made money. sure. I'm glad they have money now. But yeah, it's like unbelievable. So again, he's still there. He's the guy's name is Val. He's on Lockman Lane, and he's got a. As you look down Lockman, on the left, let's see, just past town. The one that's on, he's got his it's a Jaguar S sedan. Yeah, here's what's funny about him. We offered to settle for him for like $10,000. This is early on, when his lawyer refused. I could never figure out. I don't think his lawyer told him about something. To this day, I think maybe the lawyers had to eat him out of the room. It's terrible. It's terrible. But you said if you get some time, it's good. I enjoyed I just got tired. I was involved in like 3 depositions.
ladies and gentlemen, it's about 4:55. We're about 5 minutes away from beginning our afternoon together. It's 4:55 right now, so start making your way to your seats. Thank you.
Great to see you. Great to see you. Oh man, not as good as you. Not by a mile. Later.
Can I get started here? Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very pleasant good afternoon and welcome to the Pacific Palisades Women's Club. Or should I say, welcome, bienvenue, welcome. This is sort of Cabaret Toppel 2 for those of you that were Riviera for the Citizen of the Year celebration. Because tonight we're going to celebrate Kurt Toppel again. We're not going to mourn, we're going to put it together and bring life into this family. And bring life into this room and a great energy to fill it with a man who was filled with energy. A man who came here from Germany and was so proud to be part of the American tradition. And to see his own son go on to represent the United States of America on its national volleyball team was a big pride moment for him. And I say that because I'm inviting Kurt to come up and open us with our national anthem. So please welcome Kurt's son, Kurt Toppel.
Yeah, please rise. Should I go here?
Ladies and gentlemen, the flag is up here on the stage. If you're a former member of the military, please feel free to salute. Otherwise, please place your right hand over your heart. By a 6'9" singer ever. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue with some great American traditions, and one of which the family had a very private memorial at American Martyrs Church in Manhattan Beach a few weeks ago. But today, we will have the official moment, and we'd like to welcome members of the United States Army Honor Guard for the presentation of the colors to Huldis Toppel and the playing of taps. Please welcome the U.S. Army Honor Guard. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise.
Current former military, please render one final hand salute. All others, please place your right hand on your heart.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, the U.S. Army and Military Honor Guard will unfurl the colors, read, fold the flag, and present it to hold this time. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the official presentation by the U.S. Army. Every man and woman who serves the military and is honorably discharged or leaves the service is entitled to receiving a flag from the United States of America. So that is the presentation that you just saw. That's the official flag of the United States of America. At this time, I'd like to invite Dr. Mike Martini to share an invocation with us. Dr. Martini has been a long-standing physician in Pacific Palisades and a longtime member of our American Legion Post, former commander. Please welcome Dr. Mike Martini.
All right if I sit? Sure. You may sit for the invocation. Let us pray. Dear God, we are gathered here to celebrate the life of Kurt Toppel. Lord, you created us with the command to love and serve you and also our fellow man. In this way, we would find true happiness in this world and the next. We know Kurt loved and served his fellow man and found happiness in this world. Now, Lord, we invoke that he fulfilled your will and is enjoying the bliss of heaven. We pray for the well-being of his wife, Haldis, and son, Kurt. Lord, may we all follow your will in love and service to our fellow man, as Kurt did. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to read about some of the incredible history of Kurt Toppel, it is in the official program. It's a wonderful biography. You'll hear a lot of it today as we have an incredible presentation and a lineup of wonderful people from Pacific Palisades and some from a little further than our borders that are going to share some stories, some poetry, some jokes, some things that Kurt would have liked. See, if you really knew Kurt, he would approach you with some good tidings all the time. And he might say something like, "Hey Sam, did you know that two hats were hanging on a hat rack and one said to the other, 'You stay here and I'll go on ahead'?" Yeah, one time he said to me, "You know, the midget fortune teller who escaped from prison was a small medium at large." Yeah. He also mentioned that a soldier who survived a mustard gas and a pepper spray is now a seasoned veteran. And finally, because he loved poetry, he once told me that a backward poet writes in verse. Dun, dun. Yeah. Those are the kind of jokes you might get from Kurt Toppel. They're always in good nature and always with good fun. One of my favorite poems is by Robert Browning. It says, "Progress is man's distinctive mark alone, not God's, not the beast. God is, man partly is, what holy hopes to be." It's called Death in the Desert by Robert Browning. And it really just talks about, if you don't keep making progress, you're going to wallow. Well, Kurt Toppel made incredible progress in his life. From the time he began in Germany to his move to England, to finally his time right here in Pacific Palisades, on to San Francisco for a time, a couple years while in the service of the United States, and then back home to Pacific Palisades, an enchanted way. What a name for a street to live on when you live an enchanted life. And he's done so many good things that joining us here today is the great city councilman of the city of Los Angeles, Mr. Mike Bonin, for a very special presentation to share with you and us about the history of Kurt.
Good afternoon, everybody. Kurt Toppel, what a man. What a big, strong, lovely man. A funny man, a determined man, a committed man, a guy who loved to tell a joke, a guy who spent countless hours dedicated to his community, a guy who just reveled in his family. What a big, lovely man. Kurt was an incredibly special guy, both serious and accomplished and incredibly funny. And a few moments ago, as our servants in uniform were folding the colors to present to Haldis and young Kurt, Haldis leaned over to me and said, "What do I do when they give it to me?" And I said, "I really don't know." And so we're sitting there sort of contemplating the solemnity of this moment and watching them artfully fold that flag. And all of a sudden, the green butt of a belly dancer pops up on the screen. And Haldis bursts out laughing and giggling. And Kurt was definitely in the room. The thing that's one of the many things that strikes me about Kurt is how much of his life he dedicated to being of service to others. The obituary that's in your program, probably about a third of that, is a list of just the organizations he participated in or led. And that's pretty significant. But it's even more significant when you ponder what his first experience with service was. As a 12-year-old, he was pulled from his home, given a rifle and an armband, and sent to the cold to the Russian front. That was his first experience with service. And the rest of his life was a model of a different kind of service. He came to this country, he enlisted in the National Guard, he served in our military during Korea. And then in every place he went, he found a way to give back and make things better. It's as if, having left his home, he was determined to make the best home wherever he was, and to make sure that it was the best home for everyone else who came there and everyone else who lived there. He was just absolutely committed to this community. Whether it was with the Legion Post, or with our parks, or with the Homeowners Association, or the Community Council, Kurt could always be counted on to give back and to give love to this community. The only thing I could think of that he really loved more than this community was his family, Aldous and Kurt, and was really looking forward to the birth of his beautiful granddaughter in just a few months. There was something really special about the fact that Kurt lived on Enchanted Way, because Kurt was decidedly and distinctly an enchanting person. He had that twinkle in his eye. He had a knowing and at the same time a mirthful smile. And he had, as I recalled as I walked in here tonight, an incredibly powerful handshake. And as I walked in here tonight, I was greeted by a German woman who almost broke my hand. And that reminded me that Kurt had actually done that once to me. All this reminded me that what he liked to do is if you gave him your hand, he would give you a tough handshake. And if you tried to give a tough handshake back, he would basically bring you to your knees. And Kurt did that to me and to many others. But that was good, because that gave me an opportunity to look up to Kurt. And like so many of us, I look up to Kurt. He was a great benefit to Palatine, and he was a great benefit to Los Angeles. He was the kind of person who makes this city strong, that makes our neighborhoods tough, that brings us all together. So today, as this family and this circle of friends, and as this community mourns, I also want to take note of the fact that the entire city of Los Angeles mourns and celebrates the life of this big, strong, funny, lovely man. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I'd like now to invite Janet Turner up. Janet lives here in our community, but she serves as a representative just to our senator in the U.S., the congressman in the U.S. Congress. Sorry about that. And Ted Lieu, and she represents Ted Lieu on a daily basis here in the Los Angeles area, and is a resident of the Marquez Knolls area. Please welcome Janet Turner.
Good afternoon, and what a lovely day that the sun came out to celebrate Kurt's life. And celebrate, we really must, because it was an incredible life. I get to speak today on behalf of Congressman Lieu, but I also am so fortunate that I got to know Kurt pretty well, having worked with him on PPCC, and he was a neighbor in Marquez Knolls. And so it's with really great pleasure that we're able to honor him today. When it comes to being dedicated to the community, he stands out above the rest. And because of all he gave to the community, the congressman who remembers meeting Kurt at Mike Bonnen's wedding, and I came up with the idea of doing something a little special that's not done for everyone. We had a congressional insert put into the congressional record this Thursday. And of course it highlights the many things of his career, but I just thought I would read a few words of it, because it's kind of fun. So in the House of Representatives on March 8th, Mr. Speaker, I rise to celebrate the life of Kurt Toppel, a beloved father, husband, and Los Angeles community leader who passed away on February 9, 2018 at the age of 85. So it goes on to talk about where Kurt was from and that he came to Pacific Palisades, that he served as president of Pacific Palisades Community Council and was instrumental in formulating their guiding principles, which are still used today. And of course, there were just so many ways that he gave to the community, which so many of you already know because you worked alongside of him. But as president of Marquez Mills Property Owners Association, president of Pride, a member of the American Legion, a member of the Park Advisory Board, so many things, and they're all listed and spoken about in this congressional record that will forever go down in history for Kurt. And so it ends with a nice thought that I wanted to share with you. Kurt believed that the residents of Pacific Palisades should continue working together to maintain the beauty of Pacific Palisades here in Los Angeles. May Kurt's memory be a blessing to us all. So to the
Thank you, Janet. At this time, I'd like to call upon Kurt to come back and share a few thoughts with us about his dad. And you see a number of the pictures that are throughout the area and also up on the slideshow that reflect Kurt when he was a little bit shorter than 6'9". But he had a great history in sports. Not only did he play soccer, but he sailed and played volleyball. So Kurt's going to come up and share with us some thoughts about his dad.
Okay. Get emotional. First of all, thank you all so much. I mean, as part of this, kind of what I was going to say is that, he touched a lot of people's lives, and you can see that by, the people next to you today. I mean, they're, very influential people. There are very dignified, very important people in this room, and there are very good friends, people who've traveled, thousands of miles to be here. And, truly, I appreciate it, my mother appreciates it, and I know my father appreciates it. There's not really much, I mean, everyone knows that he was a jokester. I mean, he had amazing jokes, and, every day I heard him, more than everyone else, so practice on me. But if you get a laugh out of me, you probably get a laugh out of other people, so. For me, there was so much more that, I experienced, and there were really a few moments in my life that really defined him to me and really showed me how much he cared about his family and, especially me. And, the first moment came when I was younger and I tried every single sport. I mean, I loved sports, I loved competition. One of my fellow rivals and best friends is here in the back room today, Billy Strickland. It was, I was always, trying new things and I couldn't really find what I wanted. There was many different sports I always do. And by the time I rolled around to volleyball, my mother was, look, you need to figure it out. You've pretty much tried everything. I don't know about this other sport. Maybe try to pick one of the other 20 you've already tried. And, my father said, no, these are his passions and you've got to let him follow his passions. And he really pushed for me to play volleyball and to, give that a shot as well. And that turned out to be the sport that stuck with me and what I ended up going on to play professionally for many years. So, if it weren't for that kind of, belief in me and just really understanding that, what I wanted to do and what my desires were, he was able to let me follow my dreams and it allowed me to, be who I became. And then probably the most significant thing, trying to break down doing it, but it was about 1.5 years ago when we got married. And before that, he was in the hospital, and we didn't know if he was going to make it out of the hospital. He was bedridden for more than a month, and he was not able to walk. And he knew they were getting married, and whether it was the motivation of that, but he definitely wanted to be part of the wedding, so that's what got him out of the hospital in the first place. And then he had a goal, and his goal was he was going to walk down the aisle. There weren't many people that believed he could. Even I talked to the PTs. They were like, I don't know. It's really hard for someone of this age. Someone who's been bedridden, who no longer has the ability to walk, to be able to walk again. But he was Kurt Toppel, and his determination, his perseverance. Well, he walked down the aisle, and it was amazing, truly. I mean, we have a video of it, and it was very emotional, and it just showed me the kind of man he was and what he had to endure. And he's been through a lot, but he was able to do whatever he put his mind to. And if I can do half of that, I hope I can. But I really hope to be half the man he was. You guys will see this kind of in your bags, but I wrote a quick poem, and this is what will go eventually onto his, with his ashes. I wrote a quick poem because he was an amazing poet. Don't think I can ever follow in those footsteps, but I can at least try. But I wrote a quick thing that just said, a husband, a father, not more could we love, now eternally among us, rest in peace up above.
Beautiful. Young Kurt had great passion, as he mentioned, for his dad. I remember one day he came to me and we were doing volleyball, and he'd gotten a speeding ticket that day on Pacific Coast Highway.
The only one.
And I think, the only one. I think he was going 51 in the 45. And he got caught just south, if I remember correctly, of the California Incline before the tunnel. And he was a wreck when I saw him. And he was so concerned that he was letting his dad down. And it was one of the sweetest things. And I remember trying to console him because he was really very upset. And I remember finally seeing his dad a couple days later. How did it go with the ticket? And he said, what? And he said, he told you about it? I said, yeah, he was a little nervous. And he was like, oh, it's really not that big a deal. So I think, the respect of the son for the father and the love that he had for him, to watch his son go on to play in 8 different countries, to go to Stanford and play for the Cardinal, to go to Loyola High to play for them, and to win a number of national championships at the club level, and then, again, collegiately be amongst the top in the world, and then as an individual player to make it to the U.S. team. You did a great job. Kurt, you really represented your father well. God bless you. Haldis, I love this picture of Haldis up here in the soccer. Kurt's under Kurt. And Haldis is like wedged on his leg, holding on to his neck. I don't know if y'all can see it. I'll try to describe it. But they're in their AYSO Region 69 uniforms. And I think Kurt's in an official's uniform there. Haldis, I'm not sure what you're wearing there. It looks like you're a goalie. But Kurt is down at his mighty mite size down there. But it's a lovely picture, and it shows the spirit that you would always see Haldis have with Kurt. And even when she came to my home the other day as we were preparing for this, the joy that she has for Kurt is wonderful, and she wants this to be a celebration of him. Please welcome Haldis Toppel.
Thank you all for being here. It's been a tough time the last 18 months. It's been tough for the last 4 weeks since we've lost Kurt. Kurt wanted this to be a celebration. He says, I want to be cremated, and I want you to all have a party and dance. So I hope when we get done with dinner, you will actually come up here and fulfill his wish to dance. Kurt was a very multi-faceted person. And we'll talk about how funny he was, how many jokes he told. There was a tremendous depth in him, and I didn't really realize it quite to that extent until we collected and posted all the pictures. We have one where he looks kind of regal and kind of serious, but that was deep inside of him. He was a very serious person with some very serious thoughts and concerns, worries. He was also expressing his concerns with the facial expression you see here, which is really the lovable, concerned, huggable person that I've known most of the time. And then, of course, there's the clown, always clowning around in some way, but concerned. And, somebody says, "Is that staged?" And I said, "Yeah, it's staged, but it's really him all the way." And then we see the Kurt with his first two Doxies when he came to the United States. And he loved those two little guys. And of course, we have little Doxie with us at home that came to our house after our 21-year-old cat died. And Kurt was off to college and he was a little lonesome. So I took him out to Palmdale one day, didn't tell him where we were going, and he fell right in love with that little puppy that we took home with us. I want to add that Kurt was always concerned about the other people's or the other person's well-being. He was a good public speaker, but he was not comfortable with it. His comfort zone was on an individual basis, one-on-one. And his biggest concern always was to make that person comfortable, to make that person grow, if there was an opportunity to do so. And he has mentored many, many people in his lifetime, to the point where they've come up to me and told me about it, how he encouraged them in their dreams. And as Kurt mentioned, he intuitively sensed that volleyball was really where Kurt wanted to go, because he wouldn't let go of it. "I want to go play volleyball." No. "I want to go play volleyball with this team." No. "I want to play volleyball. Mom, Dad, I want to play volleyball." Okay, I'll take you. He's mentored me. I have had a tremendous growth in the time that I know him. Personally, intellectually, he was an incredibly smart, deep person, and spiritually. He was born a Catholic. He looked at the church as something that was incredibly valuable for his life, for his values. He was what we turned to call a non-practicing Catholic. And as he grew older, he became more spiritual in the true religious sense. And he lived his life in the traditional Christian values. And I wouldn't say necessarily Christian. I think it is a general spiritual way of being with other people, helping other people, and serving other people in the capacity that he knew. And that's how I knew Kurt. He was my husband, father of my son, but at the same time, he was my best friend. And I'm sorry to say that I have lost my best friend. Thank you.
We have a couple other family members that have made the trip over to share some thoughts with us. I'd like to welcome Ted Wendell, who's a cousin, and Dee Dee Vollenberg, who's also a cousin, to come up and share a couple thoughts with us. Ted and Dee Dee.
Hi, everybody. Well, it's going to be a doozy. In Kurt's vein, we'll start with a little pun. I just flew in from Lake Toppel, and boy, are my arms tired. It's a true story. True story. Yeah. All right, two peanuts are walking across the street. One was assaulted. That's a direct Kurt joke. So, I mean, my earliest childhood memories in Kurt are known to me as Kortkiau, and to all the German clan out here at Kortkiau. Knowing instinctively that he was family, the interactions of Kurt with my parents and my brother were the way only family interacts, with deep concern and love for his family here in America. When I refer to we, that is to rightfully include my big brother Tom, who we lost in 2013. From our births to our first Holy Communions to any special event or party, Kurt was always there. More like the cool uncle than the cousin, always adding a fun, positive, and humorous aspect to any gathering. From thought-provoking dialogue to side-splitting humor and jokes ranging from G-rated to the other end of the spectrum. He always sensed the appropriate place and time to interject those jokes. When we were receiving books or other instruments of academia from well-meaning family to broaden our minds, Kurt would show up at the kind of things that kids really remember, like my first basketball hoop. I'll never forget that. Thanks, cuz. Or once a very nice globe. Does anybody remember those? But during adult parties, us kids would spin the globe with eyes closed, then stop the globe with our finger. Wherever it landed, you were to then research that place with the handy encyclopedia. Does anybody remember those? Then we were to report our findings to the adults later. That's how you keep kids out of your hair during a party and get them to learn something at the same time. Kurt and brother Tom were kindred spirits in many ways, including their public activism, volunteer work, and using their skills and intellect to elicit positive change in their communities. It rubbed off on me as well, being a volunteer firefighter and first responder in Lake Tahoe. We feel that one can make a difference in your community. Don't just complain, get involved. Be the change that you want to see. There was much to be learned from Kurt, an education on life's pleasures as well as its trials and tribulations. He shared his ideology and opinions with honesty and conviction in a way so compelling that one couldn't help seeing the matter clearly from his viewpoint, but always left you to your own conclusions. A man who influenced so many with his charm, wit, and humor. His infectious laugh and perfect timing would make any story or joke worth hearing over many times, as Kurt witnessed. He had a profound influence on us, and it's what I'm most grateful for in knowing Kurt my entire life. His good-natured advice and tough but fair judgment of life's issues was always a welcome viewpoint from a trusted relative. Not always in line with parents' or peers' views, Kurt encouraged us to always think for ourselves. Questions things you don't agree with, whether popular or not. You are responsible for your own happiness. Kurt was the cool guy that our friends gravitated to at gatherings because he could relate to kids on their level, as well as engage the most intellectual conversation with anyone. You always left with a memorable experience, either learning something or just being delightfully amused by his wit and humor. He was the life of the party. Kurt did not always agree with the popular opinion, rather always stuck to his convictions, conveying them with diplomacy and humor. It was difficult to imagine Kurt getting married, considering. Well, let's just say it was difficult to imagine Kurt getting married. That is, of course, until we met the beautiful Hollis. Kurt had finally met his match. Throw in the towel. His equal at least in all things, especially intellectually. Hollis was the accomplished, graceful, poised, intelligent, cultured, witty, and charming powerhouse that stimulated Kurt's intellect and desire to start a family of his own. Tom and I were a good test run for things to come. I now enter little Kurt. At 6'9", I could only call him little until he left me in the dust when he was just a teen. Hallelujah, now he can take the heat for being the tallest in the family. The upside to Kurt's size is that I'll never have to buy tennis shoes again. Thanks, Kurt, for being a size 15. Not only a gifted athlete with an illustrious pro career behind him, but a well-rounded, intelligent, kind, resourceful man with a charmed life to come with his beautiful Nicole, furthering the cycle of life with the upcoming birth of their first child. Kurt was so proud of Kurt Jr. that he would be a doting grandfather to Isabella. I too am proud to see the next generation coming full circle and look forward to being a part of their lives and hope to show the same dedication to family as Kurt did for us. Kurt will be present in spirit always and will have the lasting effects on us and future Toppels. Also, the thoughts and prayers of many relatives still residing in Europe are also present today, including the Flonas, the Jungs, and the Pesches. So, Prost zum Kort zum Wohl. I also wrote a very short poem in Kurt's honor. Being the poet laureate of our family, you could never expect to try to step into those shoes, but here it goes anyway, because he was such a master writer. So, a short poem to honor Cousin Kurt, not an easy feat, but one that really can't hurt. His poems and rhymes were always so dapper, he would now be the envy of any world-class rapper. He had a zest for light and a zeal for knowledge, something that can't only be taught in college. Not only did he have a Xavier wit, but managed in a life full of gourmet foods to stay quite fit. A man with natural athletic talent and flair for sports has been carried on in Junior's pro career, which has led him to so many exotic ports. As we celebrate the life of a great man, his attitude always convinced us, yes, I can. He made it on his own morals, no playbook, no tutorials. His convictions he held dear, his opinions and observations proved clear. A man for all seasons, I have no other reason than to call him my favorite relative. I hope this poem has had some worth, because for this old mountain man, writing it was like giving birth.
My English is more than small, but some people are speaking German here. I hope so. Kurt was a very, very best friend, and I miss him very. His jokes and his strong character. So, and he bring me, hat mich nach Los Angeles gebracht.
Deutschland.
Ja.
Kurt was responsible for bringing her to Los Angeles to get into.
Thank you so much. Oh, garantiert. I'm sure. War befreundet mit Haldis. Kurt war befreundet. Also meine Cousine, Haldis ist meine Cousine.
Ah, okay, that's what I didn't know. So
German.
Aldis is your Aldis's cousin, and Kurt was responsible for bringing you here to Los Angeles originally.
Yeah, because my cousin Haldis has a friend. It was Kurt. And Kurt war interessiert, offensichtlich meine Cousine zu heiraten.
He was openly interested in Haldis at the time. It was quite obvious to her that that was the case.
Aber vorher wollte ihre Familie kennenlernen. Oder was davon noch übrig war.
He wanted to know about Haldis's background and her family heritage.
Also wir gingen tanzen, das war schon mal wichtig. Also die Cousine kann tanzen, dann wird es mit der Haldis auch klappen.
So they danced a lot and went and partied together, and but dancing was their most fun thing to do.
Und ja, some landscape, also ich habe ihn rumgefahren und zum Tegernsee und zum Schmiegersee und er war 3 Tage da, ein bisschen die Berge gezeigt. Ja, und dann hat er gesagt, also du musst unbedingt rüberkommen nach Los Angeles, zu Weihnachten.
So I'm visiting Germany with them in southern Germany around the Tegernsee area. Schwersee, Tegernsee, and Chiemsee, those are all in that area of southern Germany, and that's when Kurt kept telling her that she needed to come to Los Angeles and experience California.
Right. You must see my house. It's a wonderful place.
That it is.
Very wonderful place. Wir hatten also vorgeschwärmt, wie schön es hier ist und also ganz toll. Und Weihnachten gerade. Und dann habe ich gesagt, nein, also ich kann mir jetzt kein Flugticket leisten, das geht überhaupt nicht. Ja, ich lade dich ein, du musst unbedingt kommen. Also ich bin tatsächlich dann rübergeflogen und es hat alles gestimmt, was er gesagt hatte.
Everything that he told her turned true, and then he asked her to come during the Christmas vacation, which was difficult to get flights for and so on, but when she did finally accomplish that, she came here and found out that everything that he was saying about the Palisades and where he lived was more than she had expected, was more than true. It was
really.
exactly the way he described it.
Ja, und ich habe gedacht, er hat übertrieben, als er mir das alles so
She thought at first that he may have been exaggerating it slightly, but that when she finally got here, it was true that.
Naja, also er ist praktisch schuld, dass ich hier in Los Angeles mal gelandet bin.
So it's his fault that she landed.
Und seitdem every year I come to Los Angeles, Pacific Palisades sometimes.
It's been a tradition ever since to come every year.
Congratulations to all that you are here, can live in Pacific Palisades.
You got that. Very lucky to be here.
So Kurt, I miss you, and that's
Alle später im Himmel zusammen.
So ist es, wir treffen uns wieder.
And we'll all see each other again in heaven.
Thank you so much.
You guys anything, you'd believe it.
Ted is available for multiple languages, and that was awesome. Way to go. Thank you, Ted. Thank you, Mimi. Very, very kind. At this time, we have a video from Germany, and cousin Eva and her daughter-in-laws, Inez, have sent a message for us to hear. So Kurt's going to cue this up on the Apple. Look at that, Rich Schmidt photography, in case you didn't know. All Rich Schmidt.
Als sich im Osten Deutschlands 1989 die Mauer öffnete, bekamen wir plötzlich einen Anruf und danach einen Brief am 28.11. von meiner Cousine Aldis und ihrem Mann Kurt. Von Amerika, von Los Angeles. Aldis schrieb von ihrer Familie, ihrem Mann Kurt und Sohn Kurt. Es war ein langer Brief. Und was schrieb Kurt, den wir ja noch nicht kannten? Ihr Lieben, was soll ich dazu schreiben, was einen ersten guten Eindruck macht? Am besten gar nichts, denn Haldis hat schon viel berichtet und ich mache so etwas viel lieber mündlich. Also, vielleicht im März, wenn es geht, außerhalb des Sperrgebietes, irgendwo, wo ein Zug hinfährt, wo ein Bahnhof ist, wo man sich nicht verpassen kann. So war es dann auch. Kurt kam im März 1990 zu uns nach Sonneberg, Thüringen, Germany, und berichtete und begrüßte uns mit: Hallo, ich bin Kurt und wir sind eine Familie. Nun nehmen wir von einem lieben, wertvollen Menschen Abschied. Mit Traurigkeit im Herzen, aber mit großer Dankbarkeit für die schöne gemeinsame Zeit. Lieber Kurt, ich behalte dich in allerbester Erinnerung. In Liebe, deine Eva.
There's more. This is Eva's daughter. I think it's the translation of what we just said.
Hello everybody, my name is Ines. I'm Matthias' wife and Eva's daughter-in-law. I like to remember at Kurt when he spent a week in Austria with our sons, Steffen and Sebastian, and his son Kurt. They hiked through the mountains and fishing for fruit. The four had a lot of fun, and Matthias and I had a week without our children. That was nice too. When Eva celebrated her 70th birthday in Sonneberg, Kurt and Haldis were guests in our house. It was a really nice time. We always spoke German together. Only when Haldis and Kurt disagreed that they speak English together. Oh, we did not understand. It remains a mystery how much we have understood. We loved Kurt poems, especially at Christmas. He always gave us a great pleasure. We will miss that very much now. We will always keep Kurt in good memory. Greetings to all from Sonneberg in Thuringia, Germany. Sorry for my English. Bye. Bye.
If you'd like copies of those, just email Kurt and he'll send it to you. Thank you, Kurt. Kurt's cardiologist sent a message that I'm going to read here. Dr. Dan Wogennachter. I was close, or no? I hope that wasn't related. Maybe there was another dancing hula girl or something. But this is the message from the good doctor. In praise of Kurt Toppel, of blessed memory, I was privileged to be Kurt's cardiologist for 20 years. We were more than patient and doctor. We were good friends who shared many of the same worldviews. Kurt uprooted himself from his home in Germany and the bitter memories of the war years and came to America and planted anew the eternal seed of hope. That seed grew and flourished and nourished, and the flame of optimism and determination that overcame adversity and torment. Kurt lived modestly and shunned honor, but the joy of life and love of others radiated from him always. Kurt made many wise decisions in his life, but the most brilliant choice was Haldis, whose love for and devotion to Kurt knew no bounds, and inspired me beyond measure. Sincerely, Dr. Dan. Isn't that nice? Our next speaker was a caregiver, John Hagen. And John, if you'd please come up and share with us. Thank you.
Hi, I'm John Hagen, and it's an honor to be asked to speak for this incredible person. The last year and a half, I got to spend a lot of time with Kurt. And incredible man. I don't usually get cheered up. Excuse me. I really cared about Kurt. He really cared about me. He cared about his family so much. He's such a great man. It's such an honor to meet him. His dedication to his family and his community was something enviable. And I admired that. And he will leave a mark in my soul. Sorry, I don't mean to get Catholic. He really made an impact in my life. And, he just, I look at all these plaques and all these pictures and just a remarkable man he was. And I look at this room full of his loved ones. And we could fill probably the Staples Center with everybody, you know. He was just an amazing person. And, you know, and I just want to thank Aldous for everything, and Kurt, Nicole. And I was watching the taps, and we started laughing at the dancer. That's Kurt. You know, that's him. And it was so brilliant because I thought, I was sitting there and I was getting all wrapped up in the taps thing and, you know, getting sucked into it. It was just brilliant. And I want to thank the guys for doing the colors so brilliantly and thank for their service. And Kurt, thank you for your service to this country and to your community and to me and your family. You know, just watching that, and you're watching the belly dancer. There she is. Kurt, you're funny, Kurt. Okay. Little levity, baby, I got you. He's still in the room. And just, right? Right? I mean, come on. That's, I mean, you can't, the timing on that is, wow, that's powerful. You know, but that's Kurt for you. We just laugh and cry. You know, it's okay to cry. It's okay to mourn. And that's what we need to do, you know. And he showed that to me. You know, this is, in this pamphlet, you know, I mean, please read this. I mean, to take this in. This is an amazing write-up Aldous did for him. And I was reading it, and that's what kind of got me going here. I was reading it before because I wanted to kind of talk about some of these amazing things that he did. I ran a blank. I just want to say what an amazing person he was and is. And I'm going to greatly miss him. And I know he's only going to be here. So, I love you, Kurt. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I'd like to call upon Roberta Donahue.
Oh, no.
Did she leave? She had to leave earlier. That didn't get to my script. Roberta was here earlier. She is the administrator of the Pacific Palisades Women's Club, and the family actually, in lieu of flowers, has asked that any donations in Kurt's memory be given here to the Pacific Palisades Women's Club so it can constantly be improved and give back once again to the community. Roberta would just be doing a yeoman's job if she were here. Let's move on to some friends that have a special German presentation. Please welcome, if you will, in a few moments, we're going to skip over that and go to the volleyball first and a special poem from a friend, Dick Blount. Dick, come on.
How many have received a poem from Kurt? Christmas card? Oh yeah. Oh. So when I got the news, I put one together, a little shorter than some of the others. There once was a young lad named Kurt who used his worldly poems to flirt. Those who knew Kurt found him always to be smart, sharp, and sassy, yet as many admirers found him classy. Kurt was German to the core, and he had found his way to the Americas in '54. He found Aldous to be his girl, and every year thereafter, she was always his pearl. They had an extra tall son named Kurt, who for some reason liked to play volleyball in the sand, not the dirt. Kurt had a knack for all types of business skills and made his home in Palisades Hills. Kurt opened and operated gourmandats for several successful years. The word on the street in those days was the restaurant had no peers. Kurt had a love of life, adventure, and all kinds of jokes. Those that knew him best were the luckiest of folks. Don't shed a tear or cry for our loss. Kurt safe and pain-free with the Lord, our boss.
Thank you, Dick. Christine Dahlman is a friend. Is she here now? She didn't make it as well. Okay, we'll move on to Jerry Vaught. Jerry Vaught is of the German American Club in Los Angeles. Is Jerry with us? Oh, yeah. There we go. Hi, Jerry.